Welcome to Michigan's True Spirit podcast, brought to you by North River Vodka. North River Vodka, it's Michigan's true spirit. Now, here's Chris and Eric.
Strange wind surrounds us here at the peninsula. Thank God you found us. We could be good friends or whatever.
Hello and welcome to the first ever Michigan's True Spirit podcast. As we like to say, a bad idea whose time has come. I'm here with Eric. How you doing tonight, Eric?
I'm spectacular. It's easy to be spectacular when you're me. It's a piece of cake.
I wish I were you. And I don't.
Well,
really wish
most people do. Yeah.
Do they really?
For sure.
Do like a Twitter poll about that? People wish they were you.
I get told that all the time. Yeah.
All right.
Tell us about the podcast, Chris.
We should probably.
What the hob are we doing? What are we doing here?
This is a Michigan's True Spirit podcast. One of my many little jobs is I own a vodka called North River Vodka, and Michigan's True Spirit is our motto. So we're going to do a podcast about Michigan. It's going to be Michigan culture, sports, music, travel, food, drink. Have I missed anything? Just Michigan stuff.
Celebrating all the best things about living in the Great Lakes State.
Absolutely. And there are a lot of great things about living here, right?
Yeah. Sure, there's bad things, but who needs those? We can just close our
20.
eyes.
Let's just ignore the bad. It's all good.
For sure.
It's all good. Yeah. No, I love the state, and I've lived in a lot of the corners of the state. I went to college in the UP and grew up in northern Michigan. Spent a lot of time in eastern Michigan, southeast Michigan now.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like a West Michigan guy, right?
Yep. Greater Grand Rapids. Get to northern Michigan a lot. I live along, get to the lakeshore, Michigan lakeshore a lot. So between the two of us, we got it mostly covered.
So now that we said what it's about, should we tell anybody who we are, or I guess we're nobodies. So
yes, I'm Eric. You may have remembered me from the podcast Janos, if you listen to that. I pretended to be a left-handed relief pitcher on the internet for a while. I was Phil Koch's brain, and we had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with that at the time. The Twitter landscape has changed a lot, so
substantially.
I found less enjoyment out of that, but I had a lot of fun with it for a while. Met a lot of great people, and yeah, this is still an outcropping, still a continuance of some of that stuff. So yeah. And tell us about you, Chris.
If you know me at all, and you probably don't, I used to cover the Tigers for mlive.com, and had a love-hate with Twitter, I would say. And now whenever I tweet now, I lose like 40 followers because I tweet and 40 people are like, I'm still following this guy. He doesn't do anything for me anymore. So they leave. But here we are again. And, hopefully we'll stem the bleeding on my Twitter following and keep it tight. So
looking forward to it. A lot of good things to come on the Michigan's True Spirit podcast.
Yeah. And we will be right back in just a minute with our first ever guest, Alex Avila.
Yes.
You're listening to the Michigan's True Spirit podcast.
Welcome back to the Michigan's True Spirit podcast. I'm Chris. I'm here with Eric, and we're here with our first ever guest, Alex Avila. I don't know that I need to introduce Alex Avila to everybody here, but former Detroit Tigers catcher and current MLB Network analyst. Anything else that we should add to that for your bio, Alex?
I'm sure there's a few things that if we want to really embellish it, but no, that's perfect.
we got time, so we got all the time. So,
because you know me, I really like to be in the limelight, right?
Yeah, we need to get into that because I don't know if you remember when I covered the Tigers, about once a week, somebody would fake a Twitter account in your name. And I would come to you and be like, is this you? And you're like, no, Chris, I'm never going to be on Twitter. So we made an agreement that if you ever were on Twitter, you would give me a heads up so that I could actually confirm it's you, and that you never did that. So, yeah.
Well, trust me, I did not expect to be on Twitter ever, but, with the media gig now, it's kind of like a prerequisite that, hey, you gotta do the whole thing. So
put yourself out there. Yeah.
Well, we should start off with what are you drinking tonight, Alex?
Well, since you were so gracious enough to send me some of the North River vodka, I'm actually having really my first ever vodka cocktail because I am not much of a vodka drinker. I'm more of a Scotch drinker. And but I will say that it's very good. It's very refreshing.
That's great to hear. And it looks you've got a little tonic in there too. You said, right?
Soda water.
Soda
So,
water.
yeah, a little soda water. Actually, story about the glass. So the glass has my initials on it. This was a wedding gift from Jim Leland, actually.
Oh,
Wow.
So
It's a good get.
very
yeah.
nice. Very nice. Well, cool. So, what's your scotch of choice?
My scotch of choice is Lagavulin 16. It is it is a scotch, a single malt from the Isle of Islay, and I would say I would call it like a very much a Scotch drinker's scotch. It's very peaty, very smoky. Think of like I'm eating a T-bone sitting in front of a campfire kind of drink.
So are you pouring it in a little Glencairn, or are you having it in a rocks glass? How are you doing it?
I usually drink everything either neat or on the rocks.
There you go.
And yeah, usually I'll just have it like in a typical highball glass or something like that. But yeah, it's primarily Scotch or wine, and for the most part, my dad's a big vodka drinker though, so I'm sure he's gonna enjoy this the next time he comes over. What's this bottle here? It's like,
Yeah, there you go.
gotta try it.
We at one spring training, your dad and David Chad had all the media guys over to David Chad's house, which had a spring training house, which had like a basketball hoop in it. And I was at the ball field that day, and I'm like, I got to bring something. Like I know enough, I got to bring something. And somebody in the media department was like, take Alex Avila a bottle of vodka, and he'll be your friend forever.
Yep.
So I walked in. I don't know if I had Grey Goose or what. I walked in. I walked right past David, who was the host of the event, and handed the bottle of vodka to your dad, and he was yelling to everybody that Chris was getting all the scoops that year. So, so yeah, I can attest. I've been meaning to get him a bottle, so I'm glad. Save him a drink at the bottom of that, will you?
A funny story. We were actually on the road one time, and he's on the road with us. And usually, the hotel would end up having a bottle of vodka in his room when we get there. But with both of us being on the road at the same time, they mixed up. They saw Avila and mixed it up and had the bottle of vodka in my room. Needless to say, within like 10 minutes of getting to the hotel, I got a knock on my door. I open it and it's him. He's like, I think you have my bottle of vodka.
He was hunting it down. Yeah.
Hunting it down. That is awesome. Well, he knew where to go. So that's great. So tell us, what are you up to these days? I know you're on MLB Network. Like, what's life like for Alex Avila now that you're not on the ball field? I think you're at the ball field still quite a bit, aren't you?
A decent amount, nothing crazy. Kind of more on my time. I get to make my own schedule, which is nice, kind of away from the daily grind of being on the ball field. I think a lot of people expected me to coach or at least be on a path to managing when I got done playing. Which maybe one day down the line I could see that, but the media side kind of became the first opportunity, not the first opportunity, but a opportunity that arose when I decided to retire. And I figured it was going to, it was nice because it was a new challenge for me. I think people always figured I was good on camera, answering questions, talking to the media. But like my wife likes to say, you're really good at giving guys something without really actually saying anything. So now that you're a member of the media and actually asking questions this time, like you actually have to have an opinion. So I knew that part would be a challenge. The whole TV gig, would be a challenge as well, just kind of coming out of my comfort zone a little bit. And so that excited me. And then the fact also being able to be home more. So like my life now is basically Uber driver for the kids. I got two girls that are in 7th grade and one in 5th grade. One's in travel soccer. One does competition dance. Very good ballet dancer, and she's at the studio. We're going to the studio 5 days a week for that. And then my youngest with the travel soccer is like, it's mind-boggling how crazy it is, but we're at the soccer field 4 to 5 times a week as well. So Usually it's shuttling them around, kid activities, mixed in with some media work for either MLB Network. I've done some stuff. I do some stuff for the Marlins here in South Florida. Have done some stuff for the Tigers too, and also the Nationals in the past. So kind of keeping myself busy in that aspect, staying in touch in that aspect, and it's fun because I kind of can mix it up a little bit, stay kind of connected to the game because I love watching baseball. I get to sit in my house with a drink and a cigar every afternoon and watch a baseball game, and so the fact that I'm kind of doing that still to keep up to be able to analyze and talk about it, whether I'm with working for one of the teams or doing the MLB Network stuff, has been a lot of fun, and then it also gives me a little bit of time to go fishing. I love offshore fishing, so I do a lot of that here in South Florida. Really, it's a little bit of all that, kind of plan everything around the kids' schedule, and it's been nice. It's been nice being home a lot more.
Yeah. Trading a baseball career for being a dad probably isn't a bad trade, is it?
No, not at all. And I think as my last few years were kind of unfolding, like I thought I would think about it more and more. The COVID year really kind of hit it for me because it was like the first time, being home in the spring and most of the summer, and kind of selfishly, not that I didn't want to go back. I couldn't wait to get back in the field, but it was kind of like a breath of fresh air, like being home during that time for the first time and before I could remember. And even though the kids weren't in school, so they were home a lot, even though we had that time where, you really couldn't do much outside of your house, it kind of like opened my eyes knowing that, hey, I'm kind of towards the end, but it got me excited to the fact of like when that end came, that it was going to be just as amazing as if I was, still playing. So I was actually when I made the decision to retire. I know a lot of guys are, they have a lot of trepidation when trying to decide that. For me, it was actually pretty easily. I always told myself I was going to play until my body told me I couldn't do it anymore, and it was really kind of letting me know that, hey, you're getting to the point where you can't really do this anymore. So in my head, when I was like, that's it, kind of looking in the mirror, like this is going to be it for me in 21, it was almost like a weight lifted off my shoulder because I was excited to the fact that I was going to be home more. My body wasn't going to be hurting anymore. And I also felt proud of the fact of the career that I had. So I felt like I had left everything on the table.
Yeah, that was one of the big questions I had. You had what, 12 seasons in the probably the most demanding, position on the field. And yeah, I just wondered kind of like the physical toll it did have on your body. You're squatting, you're up and down, you're taking balls, you're trying to stop things. And so how was it, and how are you feeling today? Like has there been lingering things for you? Yeah, I guess he reaches for his glass.
Actually, my body feels great now. I do have to like keep up, kind of in the gym a little bit of stuff that I would do while I was playing to make sure like I'm still, moving right, everything firing correctly. But, everyone always asks me about my knees, and my knees are actually okay, even though like I'm sure, hopefully a lot, longer down the line, might have to get one or both replaced at some point. But it was never really my knees. It was always my back. I always had issues with my back. And so that's something I think as I get older, I'm just going to always have to be working on. But overall, I feel tremendous physically.
Good.
That's interesting that you said it was like a weight lifted and that you really looked kind of forward to the next stage of your life, because I think I don't know if people understand how hard it is for a lot of athletes when their career comes to an end. Like it's the only career where people tell you at age 27 or 31, like you're not wanted here anymore. Like you're done here. And and if you're at that level, that's what you've done like forever. So I'm happy to hear that you that you felt that way. Is that something that you were cognizant of, that a lot of people went through kind of the opposite experience when that ended?
Yeah, no, I definitely like knew that and understood that, having seen other guys go through it themselves. And even, I mean, I saw even like my grandfather go through it to a certain extent, because my grandfather worked for the Dodgers for over 50 years, a vice president for the Dodgers for a long time. And he tried retiring 3 times and, just couldn't get away. There was always that competitive spirit, of wanting to kind of be in the fight, which I get, and that's something that never really goes away. But I think on the player side, where the tough part for a lot of guys coming off the field, as opposed to being in the front office or something like that, is, most guys always feel like they have a little bit more in the tank. And, like you said, like usually it's somebody telling you, we don't want you anymore, or nobody wants you anymore. And so you're kind of forced into that situation when, even though you may still think you have something left to prove or to give. For me, I was lucky enough to have played long enough that, I felt that I had maxed out as far as what I could do physically, as far as being able to keep up with the type of level of competition, that it takes in the big leagues. And so for me, it was like, it was, I wouldn't say an easy decision, because it's, at the end of something that you've been doing your whole life. But at the same time, like I felt like I can look in the mirror and say, like, I've given everything I could physically, maxed out my talent, and I can feel good about the career that I had. And I've looked back on that decision like with zero regrets. And I get asked all the time, do you miss it? It's like, of course I miss it. Everyone will miss that. I just couldn't do it anymore physically. And even if I played another 5 years, even if I'm still playing today, whenever I would get done, I would still miss it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
There just comes a time for everybody. And I've actually had this conversation recently quite a bit with, a few former teammates, one of them being JD Martinez. He's not playing right now. And, last he was hoping to play, and he was in that situation where he just didn't find something he really liked. And I told him, like, you got to find a few hobbies really quick, because you're going to get bored at home. So, and that's, and I've even had that conversation with Verlander too. He's 42, and I think he sees it, obviously the light at the end of the tunnel, but it's definitely a big transition for guys that when you're able to have a long career, and that's kind of all it's not an easy transition. It's something that you have to prepare for, going into it.
Yeah, you obviously know Justin way better than I do, but he strikes me as a guy who would pitch until he was 90 if he could.
No, I think Justin will pitch for as long as he doesn't have another major injury. I think if he, which is, I mean, if he has another major injury at, early 40s, that's going to be tough, but he will definitely pitch as long as he can. In that aspect, he's just super competitive. The other thing is he's really good still.
Yeah.
I mean, I know his record this year hasn't really shown the way he's pitched, but like his last start, he had 10 strikeouts, right?
I know.
In 5 innings. And I texted him, I was like, man, that was amazing. Like I was watching the game, and perfect Verlander fashion though. His response back was, yeah, it was only 5 innings though. So like, that competitive spirit is still there. Like he's accomplished everything in the game, but he still wants to beat you. So, that's what it takes.
I remember him in spring training one day arguing with you about, I think he was allowed to throw 50 pitches. And you had an exchange, and he was like, how many is that? And you said 48. And he said, no, that's 38. And you're like, nope, that's 48. Because even in a spring training day, he wanted to throw 10 more pitches. So yeah.
Well, I mean, he's always striving for perfection, and that feel, especially early on in the year. And he was always a notoriously like slow starter. So like for him, he felt like, especially in spring training, he was trying to be like how he should feel in May and June by the end of spring training because he always had that in his mind. Like he was kind of a bit of a slow starter. So, but yeah, we'd go back and forth on a lot of stuff because he's just, a little hard headed at times, but it made it entertaining.
For sure.
So, in the big leagues, you're in the spotlight all the time. It's at the highest level. How did you experience the stress of the game? Did you like really wear it like, oh, this is a stressful thing, or not so much? And then, how did you replenish from that? What's the experience of being in front of the people, or are you not that aware of it? I just wonder what that experience is like.
The stress of it, that's actually, I mean, that's a good question because I would say like probably early on in my career, I wasn't really aware of it
Hmm.
in that aspect. It was more like my first few years, I think it was more like kind of deer in headlights
Mm.
where you're there. I wouldn't say going through the motions, but you're almost like not aware of like what you're doing at times because you're so like enamored or in awe of where you're at.
Hmm.
And now, you're preparing, the talent, kind of gets you there, keeps you there. Um, but then once you start becoming more aware, I think that's when you start becoming that really a better player, smarter player, because then your preparation changes. But also, to your point, the wins and losses or the tough streaks tend to
Hmm.
weigh more heavily on you because you know better.
Sure.
And at times, like I would joke with people like during the season, like when I'd go home during the season, like I would feel terrible for my wife because it's like, yes, I'm home, but I'm not
Mhm.
really there
Right.
because it was
Not
almost
mentally there. Yep.
yeah, you're like I'm still processing that game at the
Hmm.
same time, like trying to like re-engage and get ready for the next game.
Sure.
Um, so you had that. Now, once I got at the later stages of my career, then you start to kind of build some perspective.
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah.
and you realize like you know what you've done, what you've learned throughout however many of those years in your career to get to that point where you understand like more so like what's important for you to do well and succeed and the team to succeed and how to separate that from off the field,
Mm.
being present as a husband, father, all that kind of stuff. And a lot of that is just kind of perspective, making sure those priorities are in line. And so that was something really that I really started to understand towards like the second half of my career pretty well because I was always known as like a very mild mannered, kind of even keel kind of dude. So um, that was something guys would always come to me about because especially younger guys that were having a hard time with what you were just describing, like being able to go from day to day, dealing with the failure and the stress and trying to stay in the big leagues once they got there, which is, harder than getting there. And that was something like I was always trying to open eyes about is just like, hey, keep perspective. Even like when you're struggling, when the team's struggling, like you're not that far off, especially as a major league player. When you're
Yeah.
that talented to be amongst the 1% and 0 for 10, which may seem like you'll never get a hit again, within one game, it can snap back like that because you're that talented and being back to one of the best in the world. So like it was always important. Like, I kind of understood that towards the second half of my career. I always felt like that was something I was kind of preaching, especially to a lot of young guys to try to see if like they can pick that up quicker. Because once you do, it's like freedom.
Yeah, it's baseball's a different animal too. Like I try to explain that to people. Like people tune in and watch you guys and they're like you just don't wake up in Houston. You play 3 games in Detroit and then you fly overnight and then you get to Houston and then you play 3 games and then you get no sleep and then you fly somewhere else. And people just think like you're a TV show that's on at 7 o'clock
Right.
every night. Like when it's at its worst, like somebody asked me this year when the Tigers were going through that spell after the All-Star break, like, how are they going to shake out of this? And I'm like, The hard part about baseball is nobody cares about how bad it's going. You have a game the next day.
Yeah.
And you don't get a week off from Sunday to Sunday in the NFL to regroup or to rest. Like, how hard is it when it's at its, individually or as a team when it's at its worst, and the games just keep coming?
No, it's very hard because what you're trying to do is trying to kind of break that cycle, right? And the hard part, because baseball is so repetitive, it's every single day. Your day offs are few and far between. Like there, got I mean, like when a team's going through a bad stretch and you're leading up to an off day, like everyone just can't wait for the off day, right? But like when you have one of those stretches where you might be, on on a stretch where you're playing 17 straight games and you're not going to see that off day for 3.5 weeks, you have to figure out a way to like kind of be able to separate each game. And because a lot of times each one can snowball to the other. The same way, like if a pitcher's having a bad inning and it's all of a sudden like everything snowballs and before you know it, you're down 5. It's the same way with kind of those streaks and runs. Like because of the daily grind, each game can snowball to the next. And like those same mistakes you made on Thursday, you can make on Friday and Saturday. And it's just, you're like, what do I have to do to break this? And a lot of times it just takes one guy on that team. Not so much like, that's when you hear about like player meetings and, Jim Leland ripping us a new one because, we got to play better or something like that. But really, in essence, it takes like that one guy, whether that's somebody in the lineup or that one guy on the mound that starting that day, to really have a performance that almost like wakes everyone up. Someone goes out there and throws 7 shutout innings, or someone in the lineup hits 2 homers that day and you end up winning 4-2. It usually takes like one guy on a specific day to kind of like, not so much shake things up, but just like kind of shock everybody into, back into believing that you're a good team. At least for me, like when the Tigers were going through it, like it always comes down to like to Skubal. Like he goes out there and he goes 7 shutout innings. It snaps that team right back to like what they were doing earlier in the year. You regain that confidence. And, for us, like during our Tigers runs, it was always Justin and Miguel. So like when you'd have those types of guys like step up in those moments, it really takes the pressure off everyone else. That's what makes great players great. That's part of that resume. And that's really what it comes down to.
I think your drink's probably getting low. So I'm going to ask you one quick question, and then we'll go to break, and we'll ask you if you want to have a second drink and come back again for another episode with us here. But Justin Verlander 2011, 2012, or Tarek Skubal 24-25. What you got?
Oh man. That's a tough one. Now, I mean, obviously I'm a little biased because I caught Justin, but
you should be.
So doing some games last year with Benetti and Dickerson in the booth towards the end of the year, we were going through like some comparisons as far as numbers wise. And the last time like we saw Tigers pitchers put up numbers like this was Justin. So it's eerie how like similar some of their statistics are over the course of this like run. And as far as like the presence on the mound, like there's a ton of similarities too, to where like there's so much confidence when they're on the mound that you're going to win that day, that it doesn't matter who you're playing, who the lineup is, like there is just an immense amount of confidence that you're going to win that day. Like I remember times like the days Justin was going to pitch during that time. I mean, we felt like it was a guaranteed win. And like that's how we felt. Even if he came out of the game like down, like for some reason, like there was just, when a guy's going that good, there's like an aura about it. But obviously I'm going to say Justin. I mean, I caught the guy for 8 years. So, although when I watch Scooble, like I feel like I would probably enjoy catching him a little bit more than Justin though. Justin at times could be a little bit of a wild horse out there. I mean, Tarek can, but like he seems a little bit more, a little bit better with his command at times. And I would say Justin was at those times.
That's interesting. Yeah, I looked at the stats before I asked that question, and the thing that struck me was, I mean, Scooble's throwing about 200 innings a year. In those 2 years I mentioned, I think Justin threw like 250.
Yes.
I mean, that's an inning and a half to 2 innings per start.
Yes.
More. And that might not be Scooble's fault. Like he doesn't control how long he stays in the game. But the numbers that Justin put up plus those innings were absolutely insane.
Like I think, Scooble, as great as he is, all the time he chases the swing and miss. Right. So that's gonna take its toll as far as pitches, how many bullets you have in the course of a game. With Justin, especially going in, he was like that for the first few years. And then going into that 2011 season, like we actually came up with a plan, and he made a concerted effort to not do that, to where like, I'm going to get my strikeouts, but my goal is to throw 9 innings. And so that's when you saw like a lot of times early in those games in 2011, 2012, like he's throwing 92, 93, trying to get early contact, early outs throughout the game to save those bullets to be able to go, 7, 8, 9 innings every single time. So there was a concerted effort to be able to do that because before that, Justin would do the same thing. He was, 5 innings, maybe 6 innings, 10 to 12 punch outs because he's lighting up the radar gun and he's trying to strike everybody out. And that was something like, we challenged him on going into 2011, like, hey, can we get deeper? Can we do this? You'll still punch out 7, 8 guys, but can we go 8 innings? And that was something every start that we worked on, and would actually game plan too, where, depending on the inning, how the inning was going, how I called the game, and we would kind of play by the scoreboard to where like, hey, this is an inning where he needs to ramp it up and I'm calling the game to get the strikeout, or this is an inning or we're facing these hitters that we have a chance to get an out within 1 or 2 pitches. And so there was a big effort in doing that in order, for him to be able to go, 7, 8, 9 innings. And I mean, that's something that a pitcher has to commit to in order to do.
Alex, this has been super interesting. So interesting that we ran way past our allotted time. But we're going to give you a break and see if you want to refill your drink. And if you do, we'll have you back on the podcast next week with what we talk about next. So thanks for coming on.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
North River Vodka. It's Michigan's true spirit. Now back to Chris and Eric.
Welcome back to Michigan's True Spirits podcast. We are entering now a segment that we're calling what? My Michigan Journeys.
It's my like MYMI, me, my Michigan. We need a better name. Let's work on that.
So the idea with this segment is we are going to talk about something that's happening or that's geographically interesting about our great state. With Labor Day just passed, the big thing that happens in the state of Michigan, and you see the lighted highway signs to let everybody know that the Mackinac Bridge is going to be closed the morning of Labor Day. I'm so glad when I'm driving into work through Granville, I know that the bridge is going to be closed. I don't know if you know that they post this, but anyway, so our city for the week is going to be, I'll call it the Straits area, Mackinac City. Do you have any sentiments about the bridge and or Mackinac City?
I've got a couple bridge stories. I went to college in Marquette once. Not once. I went to college in Marquette. I didn't just go one day. I went to college at Northern Michigan University, and we had a 4-day weekend once. And I was sitting in my dorm room. I was just going to stay there that weekend, and I had friends who were from Wakefield, Michigan. I don't know if you know where Wakefield is, but it's touching Wisconsin. I believe it's in a different time zone. They're Minnesota Twins fans over there.
Oof.
But we were in this room on a Thursday night, and they told me that they had lived in Michigan their whole life, but they had never been to the Lower Peninsula. So we and
Wow.
actually they lived farther from Detroit than Detroit is from New York City. Yet they were
Wow.
still in
Yeah.
the state of
Yep.
Michigan.
Yep.
So we got in our car and drove 3 hours
Hmm.
to cross the bridge to go into the Lower Peninsula and got out and touched the water and then drove back across and had breakfast and then drove back to college and got there at like 6 a.m. But it was crazy to me that somebody could live in Michigan their whole life and have never seen the
Never.
Mackinac Bridge
Yeah, it's
and never
crazy.
been in the Lower Peninsula.
Yep.
But I also had a friend who I used to ride to college with, and he knew I hated heights. I was not a big fan of crossing the bridge. So one day while we were driving across the bridge, while he was driving like a Ford
Yeah.
Fiesta, this little tiny car, he had one hand on the wheel. I don't know why I'm giving this graphically for the people watching this on YouTube,
Please.
and took his left hand and opened the door and was like looking at the water through the grate
Yes.
just to freak me out. So that's all I've got. Do you have any experiences in that area?
Have you ever walked the bridge?
I have never walked the bridge. I don't know that I got heights issues. I might be able to walk if you let me go right down the middle of the paved lane on the right, like not close to the
Mm,
railing. Not if you made me
not in
walk
the
on the
grate.
grate. I mean, I
Oh,
trust the grate. Cars go across it all day, right?
yeah.
But I'm just not sure I could pull that off. Have you ever done that?
Yeah, we used to, when I was a lad, we used to go every Labor Day weekend. I remember walking the bridge when George Bush walked the bridge. And like at the time they had this like bus system. Well, they had to shut the buses down while George Bush walked across the bridge. This is George H.W. Yeah, this is Bush Senior. So that was back in the day. But yeah, I walked the bridge all the time. I was a fat little lad, so I had thighs, and this is the furthest I ever walked. So I had, a lot of thigh chafing because I've never walked 5 miles or whatever it is, 6 miles. But because by the time you take the bus across, you go to St. Ignace and you walk all the way back to Mackinac City where we were camping, it was like 7, 8 miles or whatever like that. I was not prepared, so it was a little traumatic as a chubby kid. But yeah, we walked the bridge every Labor Day. We
I,
camped.
I, I have something to say about the bridge, and this was going to be my introduction to running for office someday. So if I put it on this podcast, I'm not ever going to be able to run for office, which is probably the best for all of us.
Yeah, it is.
People wait in line to get through the toll booths at the bridge when
Yep.
they go to the UP, and then they wait in line at the toll booth when they come back from the UP. And a lot of times on holiday weekends, those lines are pretty long, right? Why in the world don't they just let you go through free in one direction and then charge you twice as much to come back?
Well, maybe you circle to avoid the $10, you just drive around Lake Michigan.
You're going to drive through.
Yeah.
Then if that's what
Yeah.
people want to do, then
Game
I
in
would
the
say
system
God
by
bless them.
driving around.
God bless them. Let them do it. I don't think that would cost them $1. So anyway, that's my bridge talk.
I love Mackinac City. I love the Straits area. I forgot how much I loved Mackinac Island. I went back for the first time in 20 years or whatever. Kids enjoyed it. We loved it. So
Yeah.
it's one of the great areas in the state of Michigan. You should enjoy it.
What did you love most about it? Tell me about it.
About
I've
the
not been there
island?
in 45 years, I would say.
The
Yes.
island.
Yeah.
It's just kind of peaceful. You're not worried about cars. You get a lot of ambiance. Um, America lacks interesting walkable places, and
Interesting.
Mackinac Island is an interesting walkable place.
Did you find it to be interesting and authentically quaint, or did you find it to be touristy?
Um, a little of both, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's some of the old architecture, the Grand Hotel. I mean, these are authentic places. The fort, I mean, some of it's manufactured again for tourists, but I mean, it's sure it's touristy, but it all feels like it kind of developed organically. It's not like some planned development that came in. It's not like Disney or whatever. Sure, but it's tourist, but the tourism happened kind of early. And so I feel like it's an organic kind of thing. And I think it's probably the greatest treasure in the state of Michigan.
This is Alex Avila, and you're listening to Michigan's True Spirit Podcast.
Welcome back to the Michigan's True Spirit podcast. I think we've got through this whole episode without reminding you to drink responsibly, which is something that we should do. If you're not going to drink responsibly, don't drink at all. So, this is a segment we like to call Rock or Crock. This is where I'm going to tell Eric about a band that really exists that's coming to Michigan to play a concert.
Mm,
I'm going to give him a real name of the band and the fake name of a fake name for the band, and he has to tell me which is which. So, are
okay.
you ready to play Rock or Crock?
Oh, I'm strapped in. I'm ready.
You've never been more fired up about anything in your life.
I'm my exuberance is off the chain. The shizane. Let's go.
All right, so here we go. This four-piece indie rock band from Cincinnati is unequivocally, I can't say that word, indie rock with a tinge of folk. But what separates the songs from the masses is the raw emotion that is conveyed. That is a description that I found when I
No other
Googled
bands
this band.
display raw emotion. Just
No,
these guys.
no one's ever seen the emo set at Riot Fest, apparently. Would you like me to reread that description, or are you ready to
No.
play?
Give
You ready to go?
me the potential names.
Your two names to choose from are Motherfolk
Excuse me.
or Motherfolk
Okay. All right.
or Sloppy Steffi, which is
Sloppy Steffy.
which is rock and which is crock. Eric, go.
Man. Right now, if their band name is really Sloppy Steffy, I feel bad for all the Steffys out there. Just getting that bad reputation. High school. Feel bad for you. That's Motherfolk.
Motherfolk.
I don't know. Sloppy Steffy seems far more interesting. It's Sloppy Steffy. That is the answer.
I regret to inform you, the answer is the Moops. Sorry, Seinfeld episode. Motherfolk is the real name. That is rock. Sloppy Steffi is crock. Motherfolk would be playing the Pyramid Scheme in Grand Rapids on September 13th with Moonbow and Harper Kill, which are also perfectly wonderful band names.
Yeah.
Shocking as many concerts as I go to, Eric, that until a week ago, I had never been to Pyramid Scheme. But you and I saw a band, you and I saw Bully at Pyramid Scheme a week ago. How do you find Pyramid Scheme? What is your review of that place as a concert venue?
It is not fancy. It is unadorned. It is
It's authentic.
it's rustic. Yeah. But I love it. It's got these like upper like elevated areas on each side, which you can help you get a little view. You can always get a drink pretty fast at the bar. And I think the thing I like most about Pyramid Scheme is like they are always running shows there. There is something all the time, which I love.
If I lived in downtown Grand Rapids, I would see if they would sell me a season ticket, and
That would be cool.
I'd just go there every night. And if I like the band, stay, and if I don't, I would go. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's the right size venue for me. I like those small shows where no matter where you are, you're so close to the stage. I think the capacity is like 420. I appreciated the elevated portions because as somebody who's a very average height on his tiptoes, you don't have this problem. Obviously, you're like a foot taller than me. But we had the railing at Pyramid Scheme for Bully, and I really enjoyed it there. I'm looking forward to going back someday.
And how good of a name is Pyramid Scheme for a venue in Grand Rapids?
Yeah.
You get this, right? Like
You know what? It never dawned upon me until this very moment.
Christopher.
I'm not over. I don't live there, but yes,
Yeah.
the reference is obvious.
Yes,
That's
to
brilliant.
the DeVos, Van Andel, Amway,
Now that you've named it, we're going to get sued.
Pyramid Scheme.
Nice work.
Maybe they're unrelated. Just happens to be the name. Who could tell? Who could
So
tell?
while we're here, Sloppy Steffi is a reference to a song called "Free at Last" by Pup, which is a band that you and I have seen. I think you've seen them twice, and I've seen them 3 times.
Yeah.
Pup is playing at the Russell Industrial Center in Detroit this Saturday. With Jeff Rosenstock and another band that I couldn't pronounce even if it was on this sheet. But I'm looking forward to that show. If you see me and Eric there,
Yeah. Say hi.
say hey. We'll let you buy us a beer. Or I'll buy you a beer. Whatever. Either way. That was Rock or Crock. Thanks for playing, Eric.
You're welcome.
I think that's the end of our first episode. So thanks to Alex Avila for coming on. Thanks to Logan for producing this. Thanks to Eric for playing along. Thanks for Dinosaur Pileup for letting us use the song Peninsula as our intro music. Appreciate that. They're coming to I don't have a date, it's far off. They're opening for somebody at
Van Andel?
man, are they playing Van Andel?
I think so.
I think they're the first of 4 bands at Van Andel, which means they'll probably get 4 songs.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're coming soon too. So, but yeah, thanks for listening. Do you have any other message for the people, Eric?
No. No.
Thanks and good night.
Goodbye.